This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's access media station, Plains FM, and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
It's time for Emergence News on Plains FM 96.9, citizen-made radio.
Kia ora, and welcome to Emergence News. And I would like to welcome first up John and Peter to the studio. Hi, guys.
Hello there, Nigel.
Hello, Nigel.
Yeah,
Peter,
great.
nice to see you.
Yeah, great to see you both.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the program if you've just joined us for the first time. Normally at this stage in the program, it's my job to explain what we are and what we do, but I thought I'd get the guys working hard today. John, in 60 seconds or thereabouts, what is Emergence News? You're telling somebody for the first time.
Emergence News is a radio program and podcast that is explicitly in existence to tell the world of the emergence of Maitreya the World Teacher. What is Emergence News to me? Emergence News to me is service. It is my service to humanity. It is service as part of my spiritual life, and it's part of my mission in life, to help the world, to change the world, to grow the world. I do that with Maitreya, and I do that through this program.
Previously on the program, earlier this year, you talked about the right royal road to enlightenment.
Meditation and service, Nigel, yes. So for me, this program, and my work, the work that I do, but this program is part of my service to humanity.
What about you, Peter? What say you?
Yes, well, Emergence News really is, we're in the beginning of the new age of Aquarius, and every new age has a spiritual teacher that has come forward, and this age is no exception. And the Christ himself, known as the Lord Maitreya, is coming forth with his masters of wisdom, and this has not really happened for 96,000 years. The masters will be working in the everyday world with us, and there will be eventually about 40 of them. And so this is really an exciting time. We've chosen to be here. We've all chosen to be here. This is souls have been clamouring for this opportunity to be here at this inauguration of the new age.
Wow. Thank you, Peter. John, Peter's brought up several really juicy points there. Really interesting. We've been clamouring. We have chosen to be on this planet Earth at this very time, because it is momentous, isn't it, that the masters are externalising as well as a world teacher.
Here's what I thought when I was listening to Peter, and often I don't think much when Peter's talking. I just go blank, Peter. I don't know what it is. Here's what I was thinking. If Jesus was giving a talk in our new stadium this afternoon, would you go? Of course you would, right? If Buddha was on YouTube, had a YouTube channel, would you watch it?
Too right.
Of course you would. If Mohammed was doing a world tour, would you go and listen?
Well, the Dalai Lama visited our country a few years ago, and I at the town hall or the Westpac Stadium in those days, and we went along, and he's not even a master. He's probably a 3-degree initiate.
If Buddha was in the Christchurch Town Hall tonight giving a talk,
you'd drop everything, wouldn't you?
Of course you would go.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So we've got this opportunity coming soon. This emergence will have Maitreya with us for 2,500 years, firstly. And secondly, with the technology currently available, there will be no discussion or interpretation of his teachings, because the oracle, the source, will be present. And you'll be able to watch it on some platform. and get your daily dose.
So what you're saying is that the message won't be distorted.
The message won't be distorted, but it's also that intersection of changing humanity, developing humanity, and technology. Because when Jesus was preaching, he could only speak to those that could walk or travel to where he was, or he could travel to where they were.
And even so, look at the impact he made.
Well, he could only get in front of small audiences for a start. Same with Buddha, same with Krishna, same with Muhammad. They could only get in front of small audiences. But today we have a teacher and technology so that Maitreya can speak to everybody that's got a flat screen. And that's just about everybody, isn't it?
What about telepathy?
That is part of the picture that we've been given around the Day of Declaration, that there will be a telepathic communication.
Do you still think that will be that method will be employed?
I think it'll have to be. I think that if you want to convince 8 billion people that you are the teacher, you've got to pull out some pretty clever tricks. And I think that'll still be one of them.
And he'd be talking about our history of the planet and that sort of thing.
And the birthright of humanity.
Yes, and that we are souls and incarnation.
Yeah.
First and foremost, we've actually got a body on loan that we're using.
Yeah. A couple of things have been floating around in my head for a while. Darwin's missing link, right? Darwin's missing link. DNA research tells us that we're all descended from one mother, one female on this planet. We're all DNA linked to that one person. I had my DNA done a number of years ago. Majority of DNA on this planet comes from a valley in Africa, right? The guy Adamski talks about the Space Brothers. Benjamin Creme talks about the Space Brothers. Adamski talks about the Space Brothers seeding planets, right? So great travelling ships dropping humanity off at planets. I think one of the travellers' ships dropped humanity off in the Rift Valley in Africa. That's Darwin's missing link. What do you think, guys? You've both gone quiet. Please don't get me carted away.
Are you still
we're
listening,
seriously
Peter?
thinking about it, aren't we, Nigel?
Well, you've dropped plenty to ponder on there, John. Isn't it? And this is the thing about
George Adamski, that's who I'm
George
thinking.
Adamski, and I think he was a 2-degree initiate.
And he's written a couple of books, and he talks about this travelling space people that drop humanity off at planets.
Yeah.
And is it Dwal Call who's also talked about, or maybe Benjamin Creme have talked about how this planet was started? That actually we are descended from people that travel through space.
Well, I think the most important message that we can deliver regarding the Space Brothers is they are our friends.
Yeah.
They are actually almost our brothers.
Yeah.
They look after us. They help look after us. They clean up a lot of the pollution, particularly the nuclear pollution, that we don't have that information available to us. We don't realise. I think we're quite unconscious of just how much damage we're inflicting on our home.
Oh, very much. And I guess after what I've just said about Darwin's missing link, if it disturbs or upsets or challenges readers, start reading Benjamin Creme's books. Start looking at the Share International website. Start reading George Adamski. There is a lot of information to support that we live in a benign solar system and that the other residents of this solar system care for and look after us. 2
other authors worth looking at too are Alice Bailey, Helena Blavatsky. They talk about the solar system all the time.
Yeah, as a unit.
And there's some good volumes in there, and there's some incredible information to be uptake from those 2 authors.
How did we get off this topic, Nigel?
How do we get off it?
Yeah, how did we get
I've got
onto
an
it?
idea. Peter, what are you looking at today? What are you going to...
I'm covering something from the latest Share International, the editor's comment. And she's talking about the obscene happenings over in the Middle East.
Oh, yes, I read that. I was staggered how strongly that is worded.
Yes, it is.
Where there's some stuff happening, people.
John, what are you looking at today?
Death and dying.
Death and dying.
Yes.
Wow.
I had a conversation with a dear friend of mine, and it's triggered some thoughts. I've been triggered, Nigel. I've been triggered.
I remember back in the 1990s, I did a couple of workshops, and they were called Life, Death and Reincarnation. Absolutely fabulous. Mm-hmm. It's all about it's about educating ourselves. What is the theory behind reincarnation? If it's just whatever you think about it, just assume for a moment that, okay, it's true. This is how the law of rebirth is how things work with Earth. We keep coming back. Peter alluded to it before. We chose to be here at this time. Mm-hmm. Let's assume he's right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's see where this takes us. And you're going to touch on that today. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah.
In fact, death and dying, I'm looking at the grey hair in the studio right now.
And there's plenty of it.
Peter's limping. Nigel and I discussed for 20 minutes this morning our health issues.
Well, we've both got skin issues, haven't we?
Melanoma. We're getting old and breaking down. But it's been a fabulous life.
You're listening to Emergence News. It really is good to have your company. And just before we go with you, John, just continuing that conversation we were just having about, what the program's about, Emergence News. It was about, 8.5 years ago, you two both co-founded this program with Shafir. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed any changes over the years? You know, I think about when I first started on the program and what change has taken place, and I thought, well, the whole concept of climate change is not argued anymore, is it?
Right.
But it certainly was when this program started.
Certainly was. And also meditation was kind of still in the woods, I would say 8.5, 10 years ago, where meditation now is
widely accepted.
And a common topic of discussion. I would say that people looking after themselves with a kind of a lifelong view is becoming the norm, where maybe 10 years ago it wasn't.
Alternative health?
Yeah, I think alternative health's had a massive growth globally in the last 8 to 10 years.
It's all about a greater awareness, Peter, isn't it?
Oh, that's right, yes. I mean, I was talking to a guy yesterday just by chance, and turns out he used to be an alcoholic, and, you know, he's turned himself around. He's seen the light. He's living for his children as much as anything, you know, and he's got a purpose.
Yeah, yeah. Addiction and alcoholism is an interesting topic, personal to both Nigel and I, and I think something that we probably could do a couple of programs on, because Maitreya's key idea for addiction is that there's a spiritual vacuum. And addiction forms in that spiritual vacuum. Well, and of course, the 12-step program,
yes,
which is the program which is global. You can Google it, and is the basis of AA's approach to addiction, which is the most successful treatment program for addiction. Is the AA program globally most successful? That's 12-step, and when you look at it, it's a spiritual journey.
That's right. And speaking of these issues, a journalist in America, Dick Larson, who you've done a wee bit of work with online, if you ever do convince him to visit our shores,
yes,
what a good topic. We'd have to get him in the studio.
He's worked in that area, lectured in that area. Very interesting. He's used Maitreya's teachings to assist addiction addicts and their families.
Rehabilitation.
Yeah, rehabilitation. Honesty, sincerity and detachment.
John, death and dying. It's all yours.
I've just had a long conversation with a male friend of mine. He's older than me, probably by 15 years. And the last 35 years of his life have been constrained by a chronic hereditary health issue, which has been deteriorating his physical body. This condition's recently been compounded by a serious heart condition. So prior to ill health, he was a marathon running machine. And even after his health deteriorated and he couldn't run, he has cycled the length and breadth of this country, pushing back against his failing wellness. His life really has been about fencing a duel with ill health, all the while pursuing life to the fullest. He's on his last legs. We talked for 2 hours. We talked about loves lost and found. We talked about the goodness of children and the enjoyment of the outdoors. We talked about high mountains and cold rivers, open fires and great books read. He's an academic and remembered discovering as a young man after an injury his ability to learn, and to this day is still excited by the art of learning. He is currently pursuing new academic topics without the encumbrance of having to earn a living. He's on his last legs. We talked mostly about relationships, those with lovers and wives, children and friends, about how some relationships can come and go and how some just stay. We, both of us, wondered about the pain and the joy of finding love and the skill set required to hang on to love, about the commitment that a modern loving relationship is. We talked about death. Of course we did. It was right there, and I guess it always is. We have lost touch over the last 3 years. He moved back to his home country to access better healthcare, and between old men and technology and the discomfort of knowing something was lost and how awkward it is to pick it up again, we both hovered over the send button. But he was the first to come back. He's had a grand life. He knows he is coming to the end. But he wants to drop the body on his terms, walking along a lake somewhere or a river, not from a wheelchair or a mechanical bed. He is still fighting, but he knows it is lost. He is content with the life he's had, with the things he's lost and the things he will never do. He is honest and sincere about where he is. I made him laugh, but I am crying now as I write this. Our conversation settled on his discovery that his life, particularly in the latter years, has been about trying to answer the question, who am I? Quickly followed by, why am I here? And what's it all about? And for an academic, I was really impressed. My reply to him was that question, who am I, is the beginning of a true human life. The pursuit of that question is the spiritual life. The answer to that question is the trigger that starts to cascade a change and growth within the individual. The serendipities that fall out of that quest is what we call a life. Maitreya talks about self-awareness and then self-realization. He teaches honesty and sincerity and detachment. My friend is honest and sincere about his situation. He's also beautifully detached. So I got thinking about, what does Benjamin Creme say about death? I ended up looking at the book, The Ageless Wisdom Teachings by B.C. So I've gone to the book, and Benjamin Creme has asked, what happens to us upon death? Benjamin Creme has come back and said, it depends at what point we are in evolution. If we're not very evolved, and the vast majority of humanity is not very evolved, then we quickly come back into incarnation. The great magnet of evolution brings us into incarnation over and over again. Because we have a lot to learn, we need frequent teaching, the experience of life over and over again to make any progress at all. If we are rather more evolved, we come into incarnation in groups, family and extended family groups. We have all been mother, father, brother, sister, grandfather in relation to one another over and over. In this way, we create karmic ties. These karmic ties hold the groups together, and they allow us to work out in a relatively restricted circle our karmic debts until we resolve them. We have to learn to be harmless before we can overcome karma. There comes a time when the soul is manifesting so powerfully through its reflection, the man or woman in incarnation, that he or she ceases to make too much karma of a negative nature and become more and more harmless. We can see, therefore, the need for harmlessness in all human relationships. So he's talking about karma, and I'd have to say my friend is a very gentle man indeed. He's also asked, when we die, for example, does the soul go off to one place and the body to another? Benjamin Creme says, yes, the body returns to dust, except the one permanent atom of the physical body remains, along with the one permanent atom of both the emotional and mental vehicles. Around these three permanent atoms, the soul will create the next body on the physical, emotional, and mental planes. We come into incarnation at exactly the same level, the same rate of vibration where we left off, which is that of the three permanent lifetimes. And finally, he's asked, what about in between lifetimes?
There's a good subject.
That again depends on how advanced we are. If we're not very advanced, we do not have much time out of incarnation. We are in and out rather quickly. If we are rather more advanced and have a relatively longer period in what is called pralaya. Pralaya is something like the Christian idea of paradise. Nothing happens, you do not make any advance, but it is a state of unending bliss, which is interrupted from time to time as your number comes up and you are called into incarnation again. Finally, Benjamin Creme finishes with the question of burial versus cremation. BC says, the only scientific and hygienic way to dispense with the body is cremation, to burn it. Everybody comes into an incarnation with a long history of illnesses of humanity, and some of these go back to the very earliest times.
So you don't want to put the body into the ground, do you?
No. Through the practice of burial, these illnesses like cancer, syphilis, tuberculosis are leached out into the earth, enter the food chain, and are reabsorbed by animals and humans alike. This has gone on for so many thousands of years that these illnesses are endemic and will take several hundred years to overcome completely. Cremation is a first major step in this process. So what I've got from this is death is not to be feared. Death is part of the process that you signed up for when you decided to come through on this planet. We have two things in common as humans, birth and death.
I remember listening to Peter speak at his wife's funeral, and it was beautiful. He just talked about one door closing and another door opening.
Well, that's right. We've been through it thousands of times before.
Thousands and thousands of times. There is no need to fear death. It is part of the process we all agreed to when we incarnated. And I suspect, Peter, that life and death happens wherever humanity exists.
That's right.
And Benjamin Creme has said two things. Firstly, every life has either been through the human form or is going to go through the human form, because humanity is a stage in cosmic life. And secondly, he has said we have incarnated thousands and thousands and thousands of times.
And experienced everything that there is to be experienced.
You know, and so the whole racism is just a fruitless pointless argument. Because, my dear racist friend, you have been a different colour in a different life.
Isn't it gloriously humorous?
In fact, in these pages, he does talk about that. I won't go into it now, but pages 19 through to 21 in the book, he covers off, we don't incarnate as animals anymore. That door was shut thousands, hundreds of thousands of years ago, and you have been everything. So, please, the other is not your enemy because it was you at one point.
You're with Emergence News. Powerful stuff. Thank you, John. Very powerful. Next time on Emergence News, Peter, we've run out of time. What are you going to be looking at?
Yes, well, I was going to do this editor's comment from Share International, the latest September issue. Very interesting and very pertinent.
Very topical at this time. We'll look forward to that next time on Emergence News.
All this information can be found on the Share International website, www.share-international.org, and also don't forget the podcasts, which are available on the Plains FM website.
We welcome your comments, questions and feedback. Please contact us at emergencenews@gmail.com.